Yeah, I'm not there.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with tax appeals first thing tonight. And so I want to ask Tracy Torbett, is there anybody on the list for tax appeals?
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have Mr. Pinder here from our tax assessor from PTA Del Val, and he's made himself available to hear tax appeals this evening. The findings and recommendations for tonight's tax appeal will be presented at the May 11th council meeting. And right now, there's nobody on the list. However, we did have one person send in a letter that Tracy's going to read into the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is from Drew Ward of Sussex Ventures LLC. Dear City Seaford Council, my company Sussex Ventures LLC purchased tax map and parcels 43163 105 High Street, 43164 102 New Street, and 43179 105 New Street last year. The total purchase price for all three parcels was $405,000, which was significantly lower than the property tax assessment currently of record within the city of Seaford. Please consider this as a formal request to reduce the property tax assessment for the three properties to be in line with the recent sale price. Please contact me if any additional information or documentation is needed.
All right, we'll certainly take another look at it, or a look at it to give you the information.
Okay, and that'll be reviewed and brought back at the May 11th meeting.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there anybody else here in the audience for a tax appeal? Okay, we're going to leave that open until 8 o'clock tonight, so if anybody comes in during this meeting, we'll stop our regular meeting and go ahead and hear the tax appeal. But with that, we'll go ahead and start our regular meeting, and we'll all rise for the invocation by Councilman Holland.
Let us pray. Our Father God, we gather here tonight. We ask for your blessing upon this meeting that's held here. We pray to ask for your guidance and your leadership. We pray that you bless us with the wisdom, knowledge, and common sense to help them make smart and wise decisions. We pray to lay our problems, worries, burdens, faith, and health in your hands, for you are in control. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, as a reminder to council, we have an executive session tonight after our regular meeting. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, there is not.
Okay, you've all received our minutes from our last meeting. If there are no questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to receive the minutes.
Councilman Henderson, I move to accept the meeting minutes
Okay,
as written.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Oh, Councilman King, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, tonight we have the unique opportunity to recognize one of our own for some special work they've done at our Capitol, a past 2013 Mayor's Right Choice Award winner. So with that, I'm going to call up Senator Hansen for a presentation, followed by Representative Short.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm State Senator Stephanie Hansen. I represent the Middletown, Bear, Glasgow area, although Newcastle County's home, Sussex County's down home. I grew up in Seaford and love to come back here at all time. My mother's here, my brother's here, my nephew's here. This is a Seaford story, right? So thank you for allowing me and my colleagues from the General Assembly, Senator Bryant Richardson and Representative Danny Short, an opportunity to be here tonight to present this General Assembly tribute to a real hero, Officer Carter Moore. I've also brought with me tonight a letter of recognition of Officer Moore by our U.S. Senator Chris Coons, and he has a representative here as well, which is Marcus Wright, is from his office, and he sends his gratitude and best wishes as well. By now, the horrific events at our nation's capital on January 6 are well known, and the commentary and analysis continues. In the midst of all of the noise and the attempts at revisionist history, it's important that we recognize that there were people there that put their lives on the line for our democracy. And some of those people, like Officer Carter Moore, faced the violent mob and paid for that bravery and courage by being severely injured. Some died. He and his colleagues were stationed at the Western Terrace doorway and engaged in hand-to-hand combat with the insurgents. All 58 of the officers sustained injury from knives, poles, bats, bricks, chairs, and bear mace. His sergeant's face mask was ripped off and he was sprayed in the face with bear mace, causing him to lose his vision. A number of the officers have now been medically retired from having their bones shattered and other permanent injuries. Officer Moore was severely beaten with a baseball bat, which rendered him unconscious, causing traumatic head injury and swelling in his brain. The right to peacefully assemble is constitutionally protected. The right to speak your mind is constitutionally protected. But there is no constitutional right to participate in a violent mob. Did anyone here ever think in your lifetime that you would ever see such an awful, shameful thing happen in this country? For now, we as a united community must do what we can to recognize and to validate the heroic actions of Officer Moore and his colleagues. And that's why I'm here tonight. That's why we are here tonight, representing the entire General Assembly. We recognize what Officer Moore and his colleagues did to protect us and to protect our democracy. He is a hero. All in his company are heroes, and we recognize it. I also want to recognize Officer Moore's mother, Stephanie Smith, and grandmother, Lois Davis, who are here with us this evening as well. Thank you. With that, I have our tribute that I'd like to present to Officer Carter Moore. If Representative Danny Short would like to come up here with me as well. Not quite sure which direction to go. Best wishes for...
You'll recognize this. One is a box that I have on my dresser. This is actually made, to be coincidentally, this is made by our folks in the correctional department. So it has a special meaning. But on the inside is something that I know personally I have in Afghanistan. There's one in Syria right now, and there's one in Egypt. Hold that. We give you this today on behalf of the city, the county, and the state. Flag of Delaware. So you can remember where you came from. Irrespective of where you're going. And maybe pull it out every once in a while and think of us. And I have a little inscription on here for you. A lot of folks wrote it. It says, to Carter Moore, on this date, you make us proud. Hoo-ah. Representative Danny Short. So, here's a little challenge coin in case you don't know what a challenge coin is. Those of us that served in public safety and the military, I think these are things that are very important because we can reflect back on it. So. Congratulations for the effort. You do make us proud. Thank you for coming back to take this recognition. Allow us the opportunity to say thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we all gather for do you have something as well, Marcus? Okay.
Here's the box, too.
I'll try to be brief. I made the mistake of not writing down remarks, just kind of go from the heart. I worked in D.C. for about 2 years at the Capitol, and I honestly thought I worked at the safest place in the world. And it was because of officers like Carter Moore. Although he was not a Capitol Police officer, he is a D.C. Metro Police officer. And if worse came to worse, he was going to be there to make sure that people like me were safe. You know, you often you think about the members, but you don't often think about the staff, and not just the congressional staff, but the architects of the Capitol, the cafeteria workers, and everyone else who was there that day. It could have been a lot worse of a situation. Carter saved a lot of lives that day, and I am grateful. Thank you for protecting my friends. Thank you for protecting the people I call family. Thank you for protecting my coworkers. Thank you for protecting democracy. I have a letter on behalf of Senator Coons, Senator from the state of Delaware and Democratic Chair of the Law Enforcement Caucus. Dear Officer Moore, I would like to thank you for your bravery and service and to let you know that you are in my thoughts as you recover from your injuries. On January 6, 2021, you worked valiantly to ensure the safety of all members of Congress, staff, the Capitol, and our democracy. The events of that day were a sobering reminder of what law enforcement across our country take on each and every day. However, your dedication to service was nothing short of remarkable. I recognize the commitment required by our law enforcement and the courage it takes to put your own safety at risk to protect and defend. Your tireless work as a member of the Seaford Volunteer Fire Department, the United States Army, and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department are a testament to your allegiance to this mission. The state of Delaware, the United States Congress, and all of America owe you a great debt of gratitude. You have my unwavering support and appreciation. Thank you for your service and wish you the best in your recovery. Sincerely, Christopher A. Coons.
All right, Carter, we're going to all gather for a picture. We also have a tribute for you that says basically the same thing that General Assembly, so I'm not going to read that, but on behalf of the City Council and I, we want to congratulate you. More importantly, I'm so glad you brought your child tonight because it reminds us, very rarely do we get a wandering little child through the council chambers, but it reminds us all why we're doing this. And we're so proud of you for doing the right things. We appreciate that. So if all the council will come up, we're going to take a picture.
Excuse me, everyone. I wanted to say a couple of things about Carter. I remember, well, I went to school with Carter, and some of the things that stood out most was his willingness to serve, and he really stood out among all of us in school. We were in RTC together. I believe we were in RTC the same years, and I probably had like 12 ribbons, and Carter had, every ribbon I had, and all the way up to his shoulder. He did it all, and he was always someone he was a leader back then, and he's the leader now. I just want to say how proud we are, and thank you, Carter.
Thank you. All of you are more than welcome to stay for the entire city council meeting, which will last about another hour and a half. But if you'd like to take a moment and leave, no one at the table can leave, but Okay, we're going to continue on. Do we have any more tax appeals that have come in? Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, so first under new business is going to be the bid.
You got one more tribute.
One more tribute?
Yeah. Bill Bennett, Director.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Bill. I moved right along. My apologies. Thank you, Tracy.
That's all right, I'm here all night.
I know you're here all night.
Kimberly would like to get back at some point, though.
I'd just like to say a few words. If I could get two of my linemen, Greg Brook and Nick Smart, to come up here. Back in August, we had a hurricane here. And I'm not going to try to name because I say it different every time. And the city of Dover called and asked for help. We hadn't been hit yet. And I said, I'll send some guys up. Well, then they hit us. These two guys worked till 2 in the morning, came back to work at 7, and then volunteered to go to Dover. So they care about us, but they care about all the municipals around us, and that's great. So at this time, I'd like to
And before we call them up, I'd like to say a few things, if you don't mind, Bill. So, my name is Kimberly Schlichting. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the Delaware Municipal Electric Corporation, for those of you who don't know me. And I was thrown into the role of mutual aid on behalf of the municipal electric utilities back in 2012 when a little hurricane called Sandy was coming up the coast toward us. I got a call from City of Lewis and said, gee, if we get hit down here, would some of our other fellow electric utilities up north come down and help us? So sat down on the computer, I'm like, what is going on? I saw this big hurricane coming. Threw everything off my desk, became a call center, and started reaching out to outside of the state for mutual aid because we recognized that the entire state could have suffered the devastation of the hurricane, such as New Jersey ended up with Sandy. So since that point in time, we've been actively involved with mutual aid, not just on the state level between, the other municipal electric utilities of DMEC, but on a national level too, and regional. So we have made partnerships, and I actually sit on APPA's board of directors, but I also sit on their mutual aid working group, and I represent Delaware on the national level with APPA. That's our American Public Power Association. And we get together and we actually practice different events, like what-if events, if this happened, and who would we call, and how do we coordinate. So since 2012, we had made great strides in how we would react to mutual aid and bringing resources not only in-state, but how and who we would call to bring people from out of state to help you in a time of need. And as time goes by, we look to continue to better this mutual aid program that what we have. So back in July of 2020, when this hurricane came through, and my power went out in Smyrna, so it took me an hour to kind of figure out where everything was. And we reached out to Dover, and all the munis were working together. So Seaford provided help, and I think there was 3 linemen that went up to help Dover. And I can't tell you the gratitude that the mayor has expressed for all of the fellow municipalities that came to help. It was great seeing recognition of a hero that, just before these linemen, but, heroes come in all shapes and forms, and our linemen are no smaller heroes for what they do, and they risk life and limb to go out in dangerous conditions, whether it be snowstorms, lightning storms, immediately after, to help bring services back onto those essential services, such as the hospitals, the police stations, and all the public works services that you provide to your community. And being able to do that swiftly and quick is paramount for your business and for your customers. So, not everybody is willing to step in when others step out. And when we get ready to recognize these 2 linemen that are here tonight, it's not only the 2 linemen that I want to recognize, it's really your line workers behind them that stayed here and potentially may have had to pick up any type of slack when those linemen leave your community to help others. And then I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting your linemen in mutual aid to other communities, because without your support that could not happen. And right now you might not have been that utility in need, but one day you might be. And I hope hope that's not the case, but, you know, I keep saying when I go out and I talk about mutual aid, and I'm very passionate about it, is that we live on the East Coast. And it's not a matter of if we will get hit, I believe it's a matter of when we will get hit. And we have dodged major bullets, and I don't know how long that will continue, that streak of luck maybe, but I want you to be assured that we have the resources not only amongst our members, but in regional and across the nation. We have formed partnerships with others to help us and help you in a time of need. So thank you for that too. And so before calling up the guys, I do want to recognize Bill with this plaque from DMEC in appreciation for their mutual aid efforts in helping City of Dover, because that is no small feat. And I thank you, Bill. Also want to call up Greg Brook. I want to thank you so much. It really means a lot for what you do. Sometimes, you know, our workers make little of what they do, and you know, the families that are sitting in the dark, their refrigerators where the food is getting warm and the kids are crying and it's hot in the summertime, and they're looking for help and they're looking for somebody to step in when others won't. I want you to know that it's very appreciated, and I want to thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you. Thank you so much. I also want to call up Nick Smart. Thank you so much, Nick, for all that you do. It's really appreciated, and I hope that the blessings come back to you for everything that you do for others. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can get a picture
Wait, no. You want another picture?
Oh, okay.
with all of them, yeah. You and them too. You. You better stay. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Greg. Good job.
You guys as well are welcome to stay the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or you can. Okay, moving on to new business number one.
I'd like to ask Mr. Mears to come up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We received one bid for the emergency generator maintenance contract. It was from the same vendor that we currently have. We're very happy with their service. They're very responsive. So I'm making a recommendation to accept their bid.
Okay, are there any questions in reference to the emergency generator maintenance bid? If not, I'll accept a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I make a motion to award the emergency generator maintenance bid to Premium Power Services LLC in the amount of $4,977 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman King. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Councilman Santos, second. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
And Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, next we have the cleaning bids.
Mr. Bennett's going to come up.
Mr. Bennett?
The city put out bids for cleaning all the city buildings. The city received 6 bids in response to this. The low bidder, R&R Enterprise, is the current vendor. During their 3-year contract, we've experienced numerous issues relating to their services. Due to these issues, we've had to deduct from their pay twice, along with numerous phone conversations, text messages, verbal conversations and written warnings. During the contract, here's some pictures out to the police station where the top left, the floors aren't clean. Down at the bottom left, trash left under on the floor, and a floor they didn't clean over on the right. That's more pictures out to the police department. You can see over on the right, the wall where it's not clean. The floors aren't clean. It's an ongoing problem they've had. These are pictures out to the utility building. The top picture on the right, you can see the edge of the hallway. That's the whole hallway down there where they don't clean the floor. The edges stay dirty. That was documented for 2 months in a weekly paper that we have. And the other picture is hard to tell in the corner. It doesn't show up that well. But all the corners are that way also. The windows haven't been maintained the way it's specified in the bid. The contact representative from RNR Enterprises has not been in communication with the building representatives of each building assigned by the city of Seaford. The references listed on the next bid with DSS Services were contacted and gave a favorable recommendation. They shared that the company provides excellent services with great communication skills. They added that they would recommend the company for cleaning services for the city of Seaford. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, it's important to have our facilities clean for the safety of our staff and those that come into our public buildings. So my recommendation, due to the performance of the current vendor, I would recommend that the bid be awarded to the next low bidder, DSS Services, in the amount of $38,456.08.
Okay, are there any questions on the cleaning services bid?
I have a question.
Councilman Henderson?
Bill, was RNR all the way through, or is this a termination of their services?
Their contract is up the end of June, I believe.
Yeah, this is a rebid, and Mr. Bennett is correct. Yeah, this is our normal rebidding.
Okay.
But you recall correctly, Councilman, in the first year of our contracts, we can terminate at the end of year one, and then we have a 2-year renewal.
Okay.
But this is the end of his contract.
I just wanted to be clear whether it was midstream, year 2 or year 3. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilman Santos?
Yeah, I was just curious if you guys knew anything about Interstate Commercial Maintenance Service Corp., since the difference is only about 500. I didn't know if that...
We've never dealt with them in the past that I'm aware of. This, I will add, though, Councilman, this was a good bid turnout. As referenced in the earlier bid, sometimes we get 1 or 2 bids. But to have this interest was, it was a good bid turnout.
Great. That's it.
Okay. All right, if there are no other questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award cleaning services bid to DSS Service Incorporated in the amount of $38,456.08 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
Councilman Santos, I'll second.
I have a second. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, next we
Thank
have the bids for
Thank you, Mr.
cleanup
Bennett.
week.
This is our annual cleanup week bid. This year we did receive 2 bids, which was nice. We've been only receiving 1. But Waste Industries was the low bidder. They are the vendor who has supplied services for the last few years. They've done well. We work well with them, so I'm recommending that we go with Waste Industries, who was the low bidder.
All right, do we have any questions on the cleanup bid? Cleanup week bid? If not, I'll accept a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I will make a motion to award the cleanup week bid to Waste Industries in the estimated amount of $23,400 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Holland, I'll make that second motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, next we have bids on the sports complex sidewalk extension. Katie Hickey's going to present.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We received two bids, one from Megan Construction, the other from ECM Corporation. And my bid recommendation, first off, this is to extend through our football fields. We have had this request for several years. A lot of the park patrons that attend our programs and just utilize the park requested more access for strollers, wheelchairs, etc. So we finally feel that it was necessary to expand this. And my recommendation tonight is to the lower bidder for ECM Corporation in the amount of $32,000.
Okay, are there any questions on the sidewalk extension? Councilman Henderson?
Katie, could you, now I saw the advertisement in the state news for the bid, but could you give us some idea how many hundreds of feet of sidewalk? I mean, this is a pretty good size improvement, wouldn't you say?
I believe it's around 4,000 square feet of sidewalk. So it's a pretty large area.
Right. I just wanted to give the public some idea that, you know, it's going to be a pretty good improvement to the park.
Thank you.
Any other questions in regards to the sidewalk extension? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, make the motion to award sports complex sidewalk extension bid to ECM Corporation in an amount of $32,000 as presented.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call bid. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Katie. All right, next we have the sports complex fence bid.
This was a more popular bid. We received 6 total bids, and this is to extend more of a security fence all along what we call Pine Street Extended, and then kind of create a barrier from the library property. We have a lot of soccer programs and football programs. We've had some problems with parking on Pine Street, which is very dangerous for children, as well as soccer balls, et cetera, getting kicked into the street. So this will provide a great barrier for that and security for that. So we would like to, my bid recommendation is to go with the lowest bidder, which is Nanticoke Fence, in the amount of $19,713.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to the sports complex fence bid? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, make the motion to award the sports complex fence bid to Nanticoke Fence in the amount of $19,713 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman King, I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's
I would
unanimous.
like to make one note, I'm sorry, excuse me. Both of these projects that you just approved, thank you very much, will be offset by a $20,000 grant that we received from the state as well.
Let me ask one more question while we're on that. How soon will these projects start?
Probably hopefully within the next month or so. I need to do, contact, the vendors, get a timeline for that, but as soon as I know, I can let you all know and keep you in the loop.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Katie. All right, next we have the ordinance for the annexation maps on those parcels. and
Okay,
Ross
so,
Street.
I'm sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
As council is aware, we've been working on an annexation off of Ross Street, and it's shown up there on the screen, and it is tax map and parcel 331, 5.15, parcel 6.00, and parcel 6.01. There are actually 2 parcels there. This evening in this ordinance is the final step in the annexation process. Should council adopt this ordinance this evening, The building official would then record this at this annexation at the Recorder of Deeds, advertise the ordinance, and this would become effective. So the ordinance that you have a copy of your package in there, it's ordinance 2021-A1, is to annex 3.201 acres of land located on Ross Avenue, and the tax map and parcel numbers are as previously stated. The ordinance talks about the zoning does comply with the comprehensive land and future land use map, and a thorough review of the findings submitted by the City of Seaford Annexation Committee and the Council of the City of Seaford desires to extend the city boundary lines to include these lands. So it also goes on to state the plan of services has been completed in accordance with the Delaware Code and accepted by all necessary agencies. As council is aware, this is an enclave, so that makes the plan of services a little easier to go through. But should this ordinance be adopted, that will conclude this. We'll notify all of our other agencies, sister agencies, the state of Delaware, Delmarva Power, because it's in their service territory. So any development that would occur, we would do our best to serve them with electric, water, sewer, and any other utilities. Certainly, staff is here, and we can try to answer any questions related to the ordinance that council might have.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to this ordinance? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-A1 for the annexation of tax map and parcels numbers 331-5.15-6.00 and 6.01, Ross Street, Seaford, Delaware 19973, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Santos. Do we have a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, if not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, next we have the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Loan. Mr. Burley Mears.
So just to kind of give you, this is a project we've been working on for a couple of years now. And just to give you a kind of reference of where it is, the green line is the actual sewer line we're proposing in this project. It goes from Ducky and Car Wash. It's approximately 4,500, 4,500, depending on where we stop, up to almost a branch before the Dolby property. This would provide sewer, gravity sewer, to all those parcels along that north side corridor of the Route 13. We just did do a project, the blue line. It didn't go quite as far, it stopped actually where the green line is before that gas regulator station. But we just did put water up there. So this would provide water and sewer service for those parcels. Just a little background, it's about 4,200 feet of 12-inch and 440 feet of 8-inch gravity line. We're also going to run from the car wash 440 feet back toward Dover Pools, because Dover Pools was looking to get off their septic system and had to have a need. So we're going to try to include that in this project. Like I said, we just did the water project. We're going to possibly look at extending that water all the way up to Dolby property, which would provide it all the way. So we would then have water and sewer service all the way up to the annexed portions of town, Old Furnace Road. So the engineering proposal for this is $1.429 million. All what I'm trying to get tonight is the approval just for that we can submit an application for funding. Then once we get on the list, then we get ranked, the project gets ranked, and then we possibly can get some principal forgiveness. And so we don't really know what the final number is that we would need a loan for, but this is what we think would be the high end that we're going to put on the application, the engineering estimate.
Right. And again, this is more than just running sewer up to properties. This is the opportunity for economic development once those properties have full infrastructure in place. Yep. So as we experienced here, the property undeveloped doesn't move. So, all right, are there questions for Mr. Mears in regards to this? Councilman King?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Burley, what does that do for the southbound property? Are they able to bore under and tie into this, or is that going to be an additional run of septic on the south side of Steinheim?
There's always the possibility to bore under 13, but it's, it's not the best thing to do, and it's probably the most expensive, and DelDOT doesn't want you to do that. So what we're gonna do is, once Lakeshore Motors comes in, and then once Sunrise comes in, we're hoping to extend the sewer main down on the south side on the road as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Mears? All right, if not, I'll accept the motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I will make the motion to approve the Delaware Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan application in the amount of $1,429,614 for the Route 13 North Sewer Expansion Project, and permit the city manager to execute the application for funding as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Santos, I'll second that.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, next we have the advance agreement with Chesapeake Utilities on the Western Sussex Business Campus. Bill, did you have something to say? Or?
He wants to present. Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you? You have before you this evening a customer advance agreement from Chesapeake Utilities to serve the Western Sussex Business Campus with natural gas. The advance agreement is needed for them to go ahead and put that in. And what is included in that agreement is 1,960 feet of approach main, 1,700 feet of development main, and then a single service and meter planned for the first lot to be developed in Western Sussex Business Campus. We've had the first agreement that came in was not inclusive of the Lot 7, so that added another 900 feet to the agreement, which changed those numbers from the first agreement that you originally saw. The cost for the extension for the city would be $89,844, with an additional required contingency that we would have to put in as well for $11,600, for a total all-in of $101,444. The city is required to make available to the utility an easement on our property. If the advance exceeds the cost, if the advance exceeds the cost of the extension, they will refund the difference to us within 90 days of completion. If it exceeds that, we won't pay anymore. $101,444 is all we would pay. But with this agreement, the city has the potential for the next 5 years to receive an annual refund as new customers tie on. Certainly there's a calculation as to what those refunds would be. And this is for a period of 5 years. After 5 years, the refund back to us would go away. And I believe that is all I had.
All right, are there any questions in regards to the advance agreement with the Chesapeake Utilities? Councilman Henderson.
So what's the source of the funding? Do we have a franchise agreement with Chesapeake? Do we have a reserve fund, or is it being paid from there, or how's it being paid for?
Do you want to go?
Well, we have a franchise agreement, yes, but
So we will initially pay for this out of our land sale proceeds, but we have the agreement with Sussex County to help fund Western Sussex Business Campus costs, and so we will apply for the reimbursement of those funds through that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I
Are
have
there,
one question.
Councilman King?
Yep, and this is probably more for Charles. When the gas companies tie in, I've noticed like throughout the city, certain areas, they come in and they kind of cut out a certain area
yes, sir.
of asphalt or concrete, and then they dig in. And the repair work, a lot of times when they get done, doesn't seem to hold up. So is there some kind of expectation when they come in and bore in or cut in? And can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Sure. So a couple different things are going on, and certainly our Director of Public Works is here and he'll assist. But there are two different things going on. One is the work in a state-maintained road, so then that patch falls under the jurisdiction of the state. and they have very strict requirements for the cutting, the patching, and the repairing. If it falls in a city street, then it's under the auspices of the Director of Public Works, controlled by our franchise agreement, as the Vice Mayor stated. So Burley and his forces provide them the requirements for patching and repairing, so on and so forth. What I'll say to you, Councilman, is you notice a fact. Anytime you cut into a road, the patch will never be as good or never last as long as that sealed surface. The compaction is never as good. So what we try to do is we try to work with the utilities. They do a couple things. In a lot of cases right now, when they renew the mains, they're getting them out of the road, so we avoid the cuts. They're putting them in areas in right-of-way, things of that nature. We do have stringent patch requirements with them, and if there are any of those that you see that the patch has failed or needs repairs, certainly let us know, and we'll get those repaired. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions to the advance agreement on the Western Sussex Business Campus? If not, I'll accept a motion.
Councilman Henderson. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the customer advance agreement with Chesapeake Utilities Corporation to extend natural gas service to the Western Sussex Business Campus as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next we have the, there you go, Bill, purchase agreement from Delmarva Power for the Sussex
She did a lot better job than I would have.
Sunrise. Yes.
When we annexed 22512 Sussex Highway to Sunrise Motel, the city contacted Delmarva Power to inquire about the cost of buying out that service. And then I did an estimate using what they used for running up the northbound lane a couple of years ago. And that estimate came out to be about the amount of $388,287.95 to run overhead distribution lines on joint use poles with DP&L from Lakeshore Motors, where it crosses currently, up to the Sunrise Motel. This cost is prohibitive until we have the option to pick up more load in the area. So I'm trying to find out from DelDOT the restrictions they have for directional drill for electric lines under Sussex Highway, and come up with a price for a second option of getting electric service to the motel. So at this time, I'd like to ask you to table this item on the agenda until I can get an answer from DelDOT and get an estimate for another option to service the Sunrise Motel.
All right, are there any questions in regards to what the Director of Electric has recommended?
Just one.
Yes, sir, Councilman King.
No, thank you, sir. Mr. Bennett, Sunrise Motel, and I can't speak for them, but was some of their thinking being annexed into the city was for the use of electricity and water? I mean, was that part of the
I'll try to answer that. The Director of Economic Development, myself, the Director of Public Works, met with them. The real driver for them is they want to expand. And where the only kind of area they have left to expand is where their current septic system is. So to be able to build the addition of, I believe it's 24 units that they want to build, they need to find an alternative for sewer service. So that was really their driving factor. But as the Director of Power has referenced, and it's in Council's package, we have an agreement with Delmarva Power so that when we annex properties, we can extend our business, we can extend our service territory. So as a matter of course, and this body has looked at several buyout agreements over the last many years, we as staff bring it forward to council because we feel that's a way. You know, one of the big things is if we have a lot of different services, well, the city services this property, the next door is Delmarva Power, it's very confusing for the customers, and it's not the best use of resources. You know, our idea is to build a facility, service people from it, and so that's been our business model that we've used over the years, and that's what we're doing here, is bringing that back.
Sure.
Makes sense. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the director's recommendation? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Henderson. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to table this issue until the Director of Power has had a chance to investigate alternate methods and pricing.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman King, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
And Councilman King?
Aye.
We'll table it till next,
Thank
till
you.
you're ready. All right, thanks, Bill. All right, next we'll call June Merritt up for the utility building expansion project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Great. I believe at the last council meeting, the contract was awarded to regional builders for the utility building expansion project. And so as part of the FY21 budget, we had budgeted that we would obtain a loan for that project. And so I sent out requests to, I believe, 5 different financial institutions, and I only received back 2. And out of the 2 that I received one from Community Bank Delaware, and I received a quote from the Bank of Delmarva. And the Bank of Delmarva had the lowest fixed rate at 2.6%. And that's the recommendation that I'm making, is that we stick with a fixed rate at this point in time.
Okay, are there any questions on the financing of the building project expansion? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation of Merit, Director of Finance and HR pursuant to the request for quotations, parenthesis RFQ, parenthesis, received for financing of the utility building expansion project, and award the financing to Bank of Delmarva for a loan with a 10-year term and a fixed rate of 2.60% as percentage.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Santos. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thanks, James, so much. All right, next we have the Municipal Code, Chapter 6 changes. Here we go. We're working you hard tonight, Bill.
Yeah, this is the first reading of proposed changes to the City of Seaford Municipal Code, Chapter 6, Article 2, Electric Rules and Regulations, Chapter 12, Cities' Rights and Responsibilities in the provision of electric services, Paragraph D, Master Metering and Sub-metering, and Chapter 13, Customers' Rights and Responsibilities in Accepting Electric Service, Resale of Electric. The City of Seaford received a notification of a proposed commercial electric vehicle charging station. The city currently, we're working on a plan to provide electric service to this potential new electric customer. As a result of the introduction of this new technology, there are certain adjustments that are required in the current electric rules and regulations of the City of Seaford rules and regulations. The city management team has been developing a more comprehensive review of several new technologies and potential modifications relating to the existing rules and regulations. However, this review is broader than the current single issue of commercial electric vehicle charging. This comprehensive review of new technologies is not anticipated to be completed and approved by the council until early 2022. To accommodate the immediate request for electric service to this proposed commercial electric vehicle charging station, the following modifications to the existing rules and regulations are sought in order for this project to move forward. They're in your packet. I don't know if you want me to read through all of it, or
It's pretty lengthy.
Yep.
I mean, we'll hit some of the highlights. As the director said, you know, these are changes that are recommended to deal with this new customer. It's Tesla superchargers. It'll be at the new Wawa. In this instance, it's the resale of electric. So that is an issue for us, and it was prohibited previously in our rules and regulations. So we outline here the 4 methods of commercial EV charging. And just to be clear, this does not prohibit nor say that you cannot, as a residence, install a charger in your home. And that charger would be connected through your existing meter. We would still get the volumetric charges of electric. This is when we have someone come in this case Tesla, and then we have Wawa. So there's actually going to be 2 transformers, as I understand the installation,
Yes.
on the technical side. They're actually 2 different voltages, so the city is expending additional costs. And then we will charge for the volumetric usage of electric. So good news for us is it's additional retail sales, and they'll fall into our existing tariff. So based on their consumption, based on their load, based on their demand, they will be placed in our billing tariff. And we're guessing, our estimates now are this might be a medium general service customer. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
So it's a larger user, so we had to provide quite a bit of electric. But you'll see there in specifically in section 12C, we talk about electrical vehicle EV charging is permitted in our service territory, and there's 4 basic models for commercial operations. Charges as a subscription, so monthly or otherwise. So Tesla would allow you, or another vendor would allow you, a monthly subscription to charge. Then it would be charges for time. So if you connect for 45 minutes, you buy that block of time. Charges for quantity of electric, what we're all used to is metered kilowatt hours, and then or volumetric based, and no charge, free charging for certain vehicles. And you know, we asked, where would we ever permit free charging? But the example was given, let's say a doctor or a dentist wanted to provide that perk to their employees because they bought electric vehicles. They would still have to pay us for the electric consumed, but they could certainly have that as a perk for their employees. So we lay all that out, how it is, the technical aspects of that. So the idea here is that if council agrees and we have a second reading and adopt these changes to the code, these will be the codes that we give to our customers, their engineers, their electricians, so that we can make sure that the service will be installed safely and in accordance with our rules and regulations and billed for appropriately.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to the electric rules and regulations on this first reading?
I have a question, sir.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This may be out of the scope of this document, but
Councilman Henderson, can I pause you just for 1 second? It's 8 o'clock. Do we have any more tax appeals? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close that out. We thank you so much for being here. Yep. And we'll follow back up on May 11th on the one that was presented.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, Councilman Henderson, you may continue.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. This might be out of the scope, but when you hear the word Tesla, you also think about solar. And I'm fairly certain that the intent of this document is not for distributed or net metering, that they're going to produce energy with solar panels and charge vehicles and then distribute back surplus, or maybe be standalone and maybe not be connected at all and sell energy that's not metered.
That's an interesting construct that you describe, and it could be a future situation that we deal with, but what we're dealing with right now does not include any type of connected solar array. And again, the cross-pollination that you're talking about there would not be permitted with this. It's 2 standalone customers for us, so we would not allow, net metering is closed, but we would not allow a solar array to be on the commercial building and then feed back or underwrite electricity that is on another transformer. So in this case, what you described would not be permitted by our codes, and we've not been approached for that. But certainly I can see how that could occur under certain circumstances.
Well, yeah, it's not within the scope of this, but what I can envision is And maybe not, maybe we don't have maybe they don't have the real estate or the capacity to collect enough energy to charge vehicles commercially. But what I can envision is that you have a standalone operation that's not connected.
You could.
That may be.
On sunny days, you could get your car charged. On cloudy days, you'd have to.
Yeah, or it could be a fuel cell or something else that's charging that's not connected to a utility.
Yeah, that could be coming down the road. You're absolutely correct, especially when you start to look at the Tesla battery walls and some of the other battery deployments that occur. More than likely, what we hear is going to happen probably in the shorter term is when people drive into work, say they come to City Hall, say they go to the utility building, they interconnect into the grid while their car is charging, so it could be charged with a solar array. So you might not transport as much electricity. Obviously, your solar array could be larger, and then in times of need, the utility grid could lean on those batteries that are plugged in as well. So the smart grid is coming, and the things you describe, I think, will be a reality at some point in the future.
So is it fair to say that this concept is maybe going to be considered in your further plans or further recommendations that'll be coming out in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll speak with the engineers about it. Certainly, we have been approached about the idea, the concept of microgrids and what those look like. Can they disconnect? Can they island is the term they use. But yeah, we'll certainly bring that up with our engineers. We tend, just like in this case, and I don't want to say we tend to be reactionary, but we tend to be reactionary because once somebody presents us something, we have to respond to it with our rates, with our codes, with our ordinances. We have to deal with what's in front of us. So what I would suggest, if we don't cover it, when we have a customer approach the city like that, our codes are, living ordinances that change and react to the new technologies that emerge.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Bennett while he's here?
And I think, just one more comment, I think with what you've seen in the car industry where they've all announced in the next years, electric vehicles are going to increase in use. And, you may see more requests for charging stations in our area. So.
Good. All right, so this is a first reading. This will come back through?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thanks, Bill, so much.
Thank you.
All right, next, Tracy, you're going to come up and present the Board of Elections.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you all are aware, on November 24th, 2020, there was a charter change that was approved. Included in that charter change, it was spelled out that the Board of Elections would consist of 3 individuals and the election officers would consist of 5 individuals, which were approved at the first meeting in February. Unfortunately, at this time, our charter change has not been approved. It's currently out of committee. So in order to meet our current charter, we are in need to have 5 members of the Board of Elections. So we need to appoint 2 additional members. I have spoke with Stacy Spicer and Cynthia Cummings, who are both willing to serve.
Okay, are there any questions for Tracy in regards to these 2 people being appointed to the Board of Elections?
I do.
Councilman King?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Tracy, with the election only days away, why come to council with this decision days from an election? Why wouldn't this be done sooner?
Well, we need to do it in order to meet our current charter. As far as coming sooner, I mean, it has been in the process. We've been getting updates as it's been moving through the process, and we just anticipated it being approved, but it has not met that approval, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Santos, I'll make a motion to approve the appointments of Cynthia Cummins and Stacy Spicer to the Board of Elections as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? Now we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman King.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Tracy, for your work on that. Okay, do we have any old business?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, reminder of meetings.
All right, we have extended office hours at City Hall on Wednesday, April 14th until 7 PM to allow people to vote by absentee ballot. I'll just note that's our second event. We had one on Saturday. Police Chiefs Advisory Board meeting on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021, starting at 7 PM here at City Hall. And then one that's not on your agendas but has come up is the Western Sussex Business Campus groundbreaking this Friday, April 16th at 11 on site.
On site.
We have and as stated, we have a municipal election on April 17th, this Saturday from 7 to 3. Please note you have to be registered in the Book of Registered Voters to vote. The candidates that have filed are Mr. Jeffrey Benson for City Council, Councilman Orlando Holland has filed for re-election, Councilman James King has filed for re-election, and Mr. Scott Peckinpah has filed for City Council. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll go to committee reports. We'll change it up, and we'll start with Public Works and Wastewater Treatment. Councilman King.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, thank you. All right, my report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to go over some of the highlights that's going on within the departments, and I'll start with the Public Works Department. I'm going to start with the Harbor House. The Public Works Department has spent 3 days there working on that line to get it cleared out, and Burley has got with the code department to ask about installing a filter so to prevent that from happening again. The team was out and they installed 2-hour parking signs at select locations on High Street. As Mr. Burley Mears alluded to tonight, he received and worked through the bid process for the cleanup week, which is coming up. They replaced the sewer lateral at 436 Willie Street. The work has started on the fire department roof drainage. The department still is struggling with a little bit of staffing. They still have one person out on medical. I'll jump over to the wastewater treatment facility. Everything is working smoothly with the additional county flow. Plant performance remains good. Some of the things that are going to happen over the next 2 weeks, they're going to implement new services on Phillip Street. They're also going to install new services on the lots on East Popular. They're going to work on painting the curbs. They're going to start to install the 15-mile-an-hour signs on Pine Street, which was proposed by the Chief of Police. And they're going to continue to replace fire hydrants, which is an ongoing project. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to Code, Parks, and Rec. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's start with Parks and Rec. Soccer is to begin April 14th. We have 101 participants. Softball and football fields have been prepped for tournaments. That is to begin April the 10th. And they painted over graffiti on the High Street Bridge and Stone Highway bridges. And Zoom interviews are being held for part-time parks positions, and all the work is routine. Now I'll switch to code. Rental inspections being scheduled have completed 703 inspections. 3 tanks have been installed at Wawa's. Building filters to start this week. First building close to complete at East Park Business Center. The second building is being designed. And all the work is routine. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to Police and Fire. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a report from Fire Chief John Wilson. This report is current as of 1000 hours yesterday. There are 220 fire calls to date, 56 calls total for March, an average of 1.8 calls per day in March, and 31 calls for April so far, for an average of 2.5 calls a day so far. and there's an average of 2.1 calls per day for the year. Under EMS, we have 1,030 calls to date, 301 calls for March, for an average of 9.7 calls per day for the month of March, 91 calls for April so far, for an average of 7.5 calls per day. And that's 10.0 calls per day total for the total average for the year. So that brings us to a total calls of, for the whole department at 1,250 calls for the year at an average of 12.2 calls per day. I have a couple of significant calls. Both were in the city. We had a vehicle accident with entrapment on March 31st on Stein Highway. I believe that was sort of at the intersection of Atlanta Road and Stein Highway. Yes. And on April 11th, there was a structure fire at 124 North Pine Street. And there is this fire is currently under investigation by the State Fire Marshal's Office. Under apparatus, we still have Tower 87 out of service, and it's pending a DOT inspection and other repairs. There's still some question about the level of inspection from UL, whether it needs to be a detailed inspection or just an inspection to get it current. Under EMS, the new ambulance B87 is online and being built, hopefully for a July delivery date. And, pardon me, there is an advertisement for the hiring of a new firefighter EMT to replace one. And the posting is out, and it will close on April 15th. Under training, the next training is set for April 21st. They're doing a walkthrough with Craig Technologies. And also under training, a little bit of good news. I mean, the department's been under stress for attracting volunteers, and we have 5 new members. And they've started their basic fire training at Delaware State Fire School, and that was as of April 10th. So we're happy to have new blood at the department. You can see a number of other events. The department's been busy with fire prevention and other activities as listed here. And I'll close out the fire department news with some sad news to report. On April 9th, Sussex County Fire Service suffered a line of duty death, resulting in a fire police officer, Laura Madera, from Selbyville Station 88. She was struck and tragically killed. Please keep the Selbyville Fire Company and the family of the fire police officer, Laura Madera, in your thoughts and prayers. I'll move on to the Seaford Police Department. There's a chart available in my report which shows all crimes to date, gives some other key data. I will caution you that when you're examining and digesting the data, that this is a 3-week report and not the normal 2-week report. There's more data here to digest. So when you see the numbers, don't necessarily be alarmed because they're larger than what they usually are, because it's 150% of the normal time period. So the overall clearance rate on the criminal side is 84% for the period, or through the period. You'll see the crime view graph, which shows the distribution of crimes through the days and weeks and the times of day. So you can have that to evaluate. We're fortunate enough to have 0 overdoses with the police department. I'm not sure whether that included EMS or not, but the police department encountered 0 overdoses through this period. Under traffic, you'll see that there were 428 traffic contacts with 111 citations and 26 warnings. We had 1 DUI, which was drug-related. Under crashes, there were 28 crashes, and 23 of them were non-injury, with one being alcohol or drug-related. And you can see the distribution in the crime view of the traffic infractions and the traffic contacts. Under significant events, there's an update. Seaford Police Department located a defendant at Tidal Health on March 30th. The defendant was a suspect from the double shooting that occurred on August 21st, 2020 on Collins Avenue. Some of you may remember the activity on that street during the summer of that year. The defendant was committed to Sussex Correctional Institute in default of a $200,000 cash bond. So you can also see that some of the other significant events, administration has been quite busy attending other city meetings as well as some meetings out of the district. Under events, the department continues to support volunteerism by assisting the Nanticoke Senior Center with meal deliveries to our homebound community members on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's becoming a somewhat of a tradition for the department. They continue to do that. And Detective Justice, our SRO, has been busy, and I'll just highlight one event. He is so busy, and he does so much work. On the 25th of March, Fred Douglas has a student safety patrol, and those students were sworn in at an event there. So he's getting them young. So that's really good news. You'll see a list of training activities here in the report, and then as far as the chief's additional initiatives, there will be the inaugural meeting of the Police Chiefs Community Advisory Board on April 22nd at 1900 hours. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, we have Administration IT, Councilman Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report has been submitted in its entirety. Charles participated in some conference calls with the Smart Utility Management regarding fiscal year 22 electric budget information and electric rules and regulations code changes regarding the electrical vehicle charging. He attended several bid openings in regards to cleaning, fence and sidewalks, and cleanup week. He attended a progress meeting for the Oyster House project. He participated in interviews for the park's part-time position and worked in the fiscal year 2022 budget draft. For the IT report, they completed phone system swaps and cleaning up at the utility building network. There's some pictures. It's a lot cleaner. They installed a temporary computer for CID viewing station until a new one arrives. They worked on networking configuration before body-worn camera projects began. For the administration report, they are still working on negotiating with the police department Teamsters. They have a meeting scheduled for this Thursday, or maybe April 20th, I believe. They attended meetings with Integra administrative group regarding health insurance renewal. They processed multiple grant reimbursement requests, and they're reviewing applications for customer service representative, for an opening for a customer service representative. They are performing utility service disconnections due to non-payment, and these are some of the door hangers that they're posting in people's door. I'm going to pass this around so you guys can see. They're color coded.
These are new ones that were designed in-house by our marketing staff.
Marketing team.
Marketing staff, yes.
And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much, marketing team. Thank you. Mr. Santos. Okay, with that, I do want to thank all of our directors for all the volume of work that came through here tonight that we got to witness, and I know you're all working on your budget, so I know it's been exceptionally busy, but I got to tell you, I get very excited when I see the improvements and the infrastructure going in, which means good things are coming, so I appreciate all your hard work and investment into that. So with that, I'll accept a motion to go into executive session.
Councilman Henderson, so moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilman Santos, I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Good night.